Are you ready to do this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Glenn Power is here. It is the PowerWorks podcast. I'm James Pikeway coming to you from the PowerWorks Garage. Great to have you along for the ride. Folks from Talk 100.3, hello. Hope you're doing well. WhatsApp is your friend. If you got questions, queries, comments, fire them through. Anyone's got a question, query, or comment, potaholics with a K at gmail.com is an easy way to get those questions into the show. We're talking cars. That's what we do. And we got lots to talk about, Glenn, I got to say.
Plenty to talk about. There's lots going on.
Well, before we go anywhere, in our last podcast, you were talking about your Skoda experience. You were loving it. You've now had the Skoda for another week. Are you still in love?
Yeah, no complaints, yeah. I think, like I said, the power leaves you a little bit wanting sometimes. But I guess if you're buying a car that price range, that size, you kind of, you know what you're going in for. And it, it gets to speed and it can hold itself at speed. It's not overly high on the RPM when it's at highway speed. So it stays quite frugal on fuel. But, sometimes the issues of trying to get past somebody with an automatic gearbox, it leaves you wanting a little. But otherwise, nothing to complain about. Really, really good. Really happy with it.
See, then there you go. Again, another endorsement for Skoda. And if you're considering buying a Skoda, you're thinking about it, don't think too long. The great value, great vehicles, and like every vehicle, I think the standard advice we would give you if you're thinking about buying something new, go and rent one, go and drive it around for a couple of weeks, just get a feel for it. And then you're going to start to discover, okay, well, yeah, this is something I'm not so happy about with this vehicle. This is something I'm really happy about. And you can make the decision, can you live with that?
Yeah, there's plenty. I mean, it's very easy to rent, the lower end vehicles. But there are people here that are renting higher end vehicles. You can rent anything up to a supercar. It's that kind of.
Oh, is that a segue into Supercar Blondie?
No, never. It's that kind of experience that you'll, truly understand. Now, no one's going to go and rent a Ferrari if they're thinking about buying one or not. Because to be quite honest, if you're buying a Ferrari, I don't really think you're buying it because of how it drives.
Nah,
you're buying it because you can.
Yeah.
So, I think. But when you're looking at something like this, there could be a lot of. If you're coming out of something maybe more premium, an older sort of European vehicle was at one time a premium car, top of the line, and you're getting rid of it for whatever reason, forced to or not, and then you're going to rent something that's maybe less premium than what you might have usually had. It's always a good idea to rent one, I think, and then if you're going to be happy with it, then you can more comfortably buy it. There's nobody nowadays, gone are the days of the 3 and 4 and 5 day road tests that the showrooms would do. They haven't got the cars to do that anyway.
I miss those days. Although I do have to say, the folks at Auto Mall at Festival City, they're building on to their showroom, so it's looking pretty magnanimous. It's crazy. It's crazy looking. So used cars, there's a used car market, but
that's kind of all there is at the minute, and prices are crazy.
Speaking of crazy prices, we've been talking, and you had the ID6 out for a ride. If you're listening back on the podcast, you will obviously know the thoughts on that ID6. And within the Power household, there is Glenn with his view and your wife with her view, and they are different views on that vehicle, which is interesting. But we've also been talking about the fact that there are a number of Volkswagen EVs in our particular market here in Dubai. And there was a circular came out from the UAE government saying gray market Volkswagen EVs no longer being allowed in.
Yeah.
Which that's a huge issue. Now, people who've already got them, you're okay. Although, good luck at getting that serviced at Al Nabuda, who is the franchise holder.
You don't get it serviced there; they won't touch them.
So this is becoming. I thought this was rather interesting.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things with the ID6 in particular, we mentioned that because, like I said, we had it on a long-term sort of test, but that was, that's China market specific. Right.
So
all might not even if Volkswagen franchise Alan Buda here did decide to sell them, if Volkswagen said they're okay for the region for sale, they might not necessarily get the ID6 anyway.
Right.
So they're not going to touch them. But, I mean, you know, it's one of those situations where VW as the manufacturer,
yeah,
they've got the reservations on them for the market. And you kind of have to be led by that. There's a reason they're not selling them. You know, they'll slowly filter in eventually. I hear that the ID4, the ID Buzz will come here.
Ooh,
Some people say the ID3.
The Buzz, that's the wagon,
small.
isn't it? That's the van.
The van, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so that's possibly what's happened here now. Yeah. The importer has gone on and said, look, you can't have this. This isn't acceptable.
Yeah.
You're flooding the market before we've had a chance to sell them.
Yeah.
So you understand it. But, yeah, if you already own one, and there are thousands of people that do, you see them on the road all the time, you're still getting them maintained and repaired, just not by the dealer. And you never were in the first place anyway. So you'll just continue as you were. And hopefully the people looking after them know what they're doing.
Yeah, fingers crossed, you hope. This is again, I think, a great reminder. Sometimes if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. I live by that. And when we're looking at the car market, remember that the manufacturers do test the vehicles for this environment. And when we say, oh, we're bringing them in from China, we're bringing them in from the U.S., has the vehicle been tested for the specific environments? And yeah, I know it gets hot in the U.S., and I know there's places where it's hot, but this is a different kind of hot with some humidity, without humidity, with a lot of sand. And they test and they modify the vehicles for this climate.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, I mean, the EV temperature is important to any vehicle, like even internal combustion. We've spoken about that before. You know, the reason we get high carbon deposits in the oil here is because of the relatively low oxygen level per given volume of air, because it's so warm, it's so less dense. So you know that it always plays a part, but it's not as critical, and you can tune it. So you can tune it on a internal combustion engine through the map of the control unit. But electricity, you know, effectively relies on resistance, and the resistance will change with temperature. And we hear about the North American and the European markets where there's an up to 30% drop in range on extreme cold.
Right.
Probably find the same in the extreme heat.
Yeah.
You know, I noticed that we spoke about the charge on the ID6. It took so much longer when I'd parked it up after a run to plug in than when I, you know, thought, oh, I better go and plug the car in 6-7 hours later, and then plugged it in while it was cold. When the battery's hot from having been driven, it takes forever to charge.
Yeah.
And we weren't getting the range out of it, and we were driving it through the winter.
Yeah, so imagine when it's 50.
You know, so when it's twice the temperature we were dealing with, it's potentially, and they, you know, unless they're tested here, you won't know.
Well, and I always think, you know, I use my phone as a barometer, and not the barometer on the phone, but I use it as a barometer. And how many times have you been sitting out by a pool? You've got your phone sitting on the sun lounger table, and you look at your phone, and it's going, heat warning.
Yeah.
And it's not the temperature, it's the battery. The whole thing is heating up. Now we've got cars sitting out in the sun in a parking lot, and it's a battery that is getting very warm, and you're going to be using energy to try and divert things and whatever it can do. Maybe there's even cooling built in. I don't know. But it all eats away at the longevity of the batteries.
One of the things to think about is they do have cooling systems. They have coolant pumps, they have fans, they have everything to cool the motors down,
which need electricity to
still run from a 12-volt system, which is replenished from the main lithium battery. But they do have the systems on there to keep everything cool. And you know, you plug your car into charge when you've got an EV, you'll hear the fan kick in and keeping the battery cool as it can and everything else. But if you're sat in a traffic jam in the middle of summer with the AC on, all the loads are on cars, you can't go near a car without 4 million lights coming on now. All the lights on the outside, lights under the car, lights in the roof, everything is illuminated for the sake of it. So there's loads on the battery all the time. So the 12-volt system is going to be a drain on the main battery. you're sat in the traffic jam, the road underneath the vehicle is 65, 70 degrees C. You know, we'll do it one day. I take my laser pointer out in June and point it on the tarmac, and it's 65, 70 degrees C.
Gee.
You know, and you're sat with your car with it being radiated to the bottom of the car where the batteries are, while the batteries are getting hot because they're being used, and it's 50 degrees outside.
Yeah. And
you've got the AC on, and you've got the stereo on, and you've got everything else going on. So temperature's a massive thing, and VW didn't, you know, there's grey importers importing these vehicles by the hundreds every single month, and there's thousands of them on the road here.
So is the importer also doing the service on these vehicles?
No. There's a couple of people that are offering aftermarket warranties for them, and how worthwhile they are, I don't know. I've got no experience of it, and I don't know whether I can speak to the level of qualification for these places to do that, or whether they just got in there first.
Yeah.
I don't know, but if VW thought they were good here, they'd have brought them here, because, as you can see, they'd have sold. You know, the ID6 is like the one that I was driving. To buy the same vehicle was about 170,000 dirhams.
That's decent.
There's easily 1,000 of those on the road.
Right.
So he's almost 2 million. You know, you've got a massive amount of money just gone there. Yeah. And the reason is it's not worth it. But VW don't want to sell a car and have to be fixing it every single week under warranty. You know, not only because of the financial impact that has on them, but also when you take a vehicle in for a warranty repair, doesn't matter what kind of vehicle it is, you take it in, and we'll use VW because we're talking about that. So here, the agency for that is Al Nabuda. When I was at home, we worked for a company called Gilders. Comes in, Al Nabuda will do all the admin work on it. They'll book the car in. Obviously, they sold it, so they'll book the car in. They'll do this, that. They'll get the car into the workshop. The workshop will spend time on it. The customer will get the car back, no bill.
And they look at the service warnings.
Well, yeah, they get all that. All that gets done. But in a cut and short, black and white, it's a warranty claim. They'll do the warranty repair, give the vehicle back to the customer, done. The customer doesn't pay anything. So then the customer's not even thinking, oh, actually, you just pay for that.
Yeah.
Now, Al Nabuda have just spent time and resources fixing it. So then Al Nabuda, as we used to, they will then invoice Volkswagen Middle East. Now, when that gets eventually back to Volkswagen, let's say their repair was a warranty repair on a coolant pump, and let's say this coolant pump was made by Continental. Volkswagen will also have a warranty from Continental.
Right.
So then Volkswagen will pay the franchise, and then they will try and get their money back from Continental.
Yeah.
And I'm just using that as an example. Yeah. Now, Continental are going to say to VW, if they get 20,000 warranty claims on this pump, well, hang on.
Yeah.
You know, are you sure it's fit for purpose? You've asked us to design a pump for this, but you're using it in the desert. It wasn't designed for that. And then VW all of a sudden have got a problem. They can't get any more pumps because they're saying they're no good, so then they can't build the car.
Exactly.
And people don't, you know, that's something that understandably people don't think about.
Yeah.
Why would you? But that's a realistic scenario. You know, you talk about the whole situation with a warranty claim being, oh, well, I don't have to pay, it's fine. But somebody down the line is paying, and it will get to the point where the supplier of those parts, VW do not design and build all the parts on a vehicle. No vehicle manufacturer does. So they have companies like Continental, Bosch, Siemens, Hitachi, Denso, Sanden, all these people that make components for their vehicle to fit their design. When they fail, there's warranty all the way down the line. So, you know, you have to understand that by the time you've got a 2,000 dirham water pump replaced under warranty, the ultimate cost down the line is probably for the initial supplier 150 dirhams. By the time you've got margin shipping, there's fitting times and all this. But they still don't want to be doing that every single day, 5, 6, 7 times a day, because they're going to say misuse. This is misuse.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, sometimes it goes the other way where they'll say we need to redesign this, and then there's supersessions on parts. And supersessions on parts happen for various reasons. They happen because factories change. They happen because of improvements technically. They happen because of what's happened is a region like ours would say, that kind of rubber bush for that suspension arm doesn't suit this region. So we need to modify and supersede that. Now, can we just supersede that region specific? And in that case, when you have region specific parts, brings you back to the problem of importing a vehicle. The region specific part for China might not be the same as here. And if there are region specific parts on those vehicles, when they come here, they're not going to last. But you then can't buy that part here, because the VW representative here will not order parts for a Chinese vehicle, because why would they? We're not in China.
Yeah,
we need to order this, and it just doesn't decode on the VIN, and it's all complicated. And to be quite honest, they haven't got the time, certainly wouldn't have the inclination to waste the time and resources to find and arrange the right part for a vehicle, which is, you shouldn't have ordered it here anyway. Yeah. So this is why they just say, no, we're not looking at it. Yeah. So yeah, you need to understand that the manufacturer's held off for a long time for a reason, and if they don't get any of the ID models in this generation here, then that wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah, and it's a real testament though to the desirability of Volkswagens, because a lot of people are buying them because they want that car.
Yeah, I mean, one of the good things, I mean, the price point's pretty good. Because of the import price, it's still only it's still money, only 170.
And look, it's German engineering.
Yeah, but again, you've also got the fact that they're now mass available, because the deal was it with BAIC and VW in China, where they agreed to build cars together. So obviously they've got really, really quickly ahead of the game.
And BIAC also makes the Wrangler knockoff.
Yeah, BJ or whatever it's called.
Yeah, which I still
they do a G-Wagon one as well. I think the G-Wagon one's called the BJ80 or something.
I've not gotten to ride one of these things yet, but I see them every now and then, and I just kind of think, but I'd still like to take it out for a spin. Yeah.
But no, because of that partnership, they've got massive, what would you call it? Advantage. They've got an advantage in production in the Chinese market, and that puts thousands of them out every couple of weeks, and they're available for sale. And if you've got somebody in the UAE wanting 100 off you every time you've got 100, then you'll make them.
And
then you'll sell them, and they'll get sold here. But right now, the ones that are sat in Ras Al Khor are going to be sat there for a long, potentially indefinite period of time. So there could be some good export deals to be had.
There we go.
You'd have to export them out of the country.
Yeah. I mentioned Supercar Blondie only because, for whatever reason, her feed came up on my Instagram, and she had a picture, and I don't know when this happened, if it's new or if it's old, but obviously she has her own vehicles, a couple of cars parked in the underground parking. I think they're on the Palm, and there had to be 3 feet of water in the underground parking garage on the video that she was showing. And I'm looking at her electric car, one of them, BMW electric.
Ouch.
We're talking water up to the bottom of the doors, if not part way up the doors.
Ouch.
And those are low flung cars.
Yeah.
And I was just going.
Yeah. Well, you've got obviously. I mean, you would actually think that an electric vehicle, a pure electric vehicle, would be better weatherproof than a internal combustion, because they've been
everything sealed, right?
Especially European, like BMW, where rains and snows in Germany. So you would think so, but you'd still be a little bit trepidatious about getting in it, I think.
Yeah, well,
it's maybe not today.
Well, and I'm just thinking all the stuff that then has been sitting. Sensors are now. It's one thing to get it wet from rain and things. It's another thing to have immersion, and if it's immersed, you got your brake calipers and stuff, and is it seawater that's come in? Is it a broken water main?
Yeah.
All of these things, and I'm just looking going, no insurance company's covering any of that. That's that's the other thing. You're not billing your insurance company, because they're just going to go, act of God. It's a natural disaster. Nothing we can do. This is unless you've got some ridiculous insurance premium.
Yeah, if you've got what do they call it, acts of God or natural disasters cover, then great. But still,
imagine the premium for that.
Some of these cars though, like that, how do you repair them? And a lot of her cars, she's modified the one-offs, and you just can't repair them.
So it'll be interesting to get the follow-up and see what's going on with that.
Well, you just never get rid, even no matter what you do, unless you're willing to take all the wiring harness out and physically one by one dry it, make sure there's nothing between the insulation and the core you'll never ever get rid of all that moisture. There'll always be corrosion from now on.
So for Alexander Hershey, this means new cars.
That's a shame. She'll struggle. Yeah.
You sent over an image on WhatsApp of someone who'd taken their car in for an inspection.
Oh no. Did them dirty, didn't they?
And I'm just going, my pulse started to race because I drive old cars. Well, old, as in 2008 year models. And so every year when I go in for an inspection, I email you back, and it got through another one. I see this and I'm going, gloves are off. That was ridiculous.
Yeah. Failed on the bonnet struts, not holding the bonnet open.
Thankfully, mine has one of those metal legs.
Yeah, which, you know what, right? The fire service don't like these bonnet struts, the gas-filled struts, because in the event of a fire, they'll explode. And they become projectiles. So the fire service don't like them anyway. Yeah. I don't actually know why they're there. Yeah. I can't see how they're cheaper than putting an actual manual rod in. I just don't see how they're cheaper. Yeah. But then again, it means that with the manual one, you've got to remove one of your hands, and you've only got one arm on the bonnet, and maybe that's the health and safety conscious side. I don't know.
I remember the good old days, and we had some older aged cars back in the day when I was a kid. I think it was just springs. I think they were springs.
Some of the big old American stuff was all springs. Yeah, the big coils on the hinge.
The big coil springs.
yeah, which wouldn't fail. But again, it's down to cost of production, isn't it?
Yeah. So
on the Wrangler, you just throw it all the way back to the screen anyway.
Well, that's it. There was another thing, messy boot.
Yeah. The boot was a mess. Yeah, full of rubbish and
they got called out on the inspection
because they were unable to check the spare wheel.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Can't check the spare wheel because the boot's full of stuff.
Oh. Okay.
Tight. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if
which testing center did you go to? Because I am not going to that one.
He must have gone in with the attitude or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they said, "Oh, okay, we're going to sort this guy out."
Yeah. It wasn't. I mean, it's had a bit of an oil leak, and it's got other things as well that it failed on. But to fail it for the bonnet struts and the boot being a mess, I would have been fuming if it was just the boot. Because you'd have been like, "Well, I would have come in there and taken it out and showed you the spare and put it back together. It wouldn't have been a problem. I would have done that for you."
I thought it was nice that they were catching the oil leaks, but I've had fluid leaks on vehicles as well, and I'm always worried about that. I'm underneath scraping and polishing a little bit just to clean, as if they don't notice.
Yeah,
but, an oil leak, like, oh man.
Oil leaks has always been one for them to fail it on. I mean,
I wonder what the threshold is for the leak. If they physically see it dripping.
I think the threshold is if the person doing the test sees any kind of oil patch, they will fail it. Yeah.
So I've been lucky because I'm sure that I've had some oil leaks and other things.
Yeah.
Wow.
We've had an Audi fail before for a rear suspension damper leaking, and it wasn't really leaking. It was just very, very slightly weeping.
Huh.
And DJ obviously was at Audi until just recently, and they were told, we just spoke about warranties, they were told not to replace them in that condition under warranty. It's just a normal condition of the damper working. But then here it's failed its test, so then what do you do?
Yeah.
Do you do the right thing and change it, or do you do what the manufacturer said is it's fine, leave it? So in that case, then you've just got to clean it.
Yeah.
But when you start cleaning it off instead of actually fixing it, it feels a little bit like you're trying to cheat the system.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be that disparity.
Well, I think I'm going back to my old practice, and I don't know why I stopped the practice, but the week before I'm taking my vehicle in for an inspection, I'm bringing it into the garage to have the garage do the inspection.
Yeah, we take a lot of cars to test for people, and it's always a difficult one as to know whether to check the vehicle first or take it for test first because of the disparity. So what we might find on a check, we might say, okay, James, you've got A, B, C, D. These are wrong. We'd probably recommend doing them. E, F, G, don't worry about it. It's fine. If you don't do A, B, C, D, it's probably going to fail the test. Then, oh, okay, no problem. And then we take it for the test and it passes. And then you're like, what were these guys on about? Or we check it and say, yeah, it's fine. There's a little bit of this and that, but it's okay for a test. And then you take it and it fails. Again, we don't look good at all.
No.
So we take a lot of vehicles for tests, and on the newer stuff, we'll tend to just check them first.
Right.
But on the older stuff, we'll take it for test first, because what that does is then that if it fails, it gives us a list to concentrate on. Yeah. Because sometimes you can just get lost in the sort of, and again, me and DJ look at things through the eyes of an MOT test, which is a lot stricter and a lot more structured. And an MOT test has to take a minimum of 45 minutes.
Wow.
Has to take a minimum of 45 minutes. That picture I sent you yesterday, tested in lane number 6 or whatever, start time was 7:54 and end time was 7:59.
Yeah.
5-minute test, and they failed it on 4 things at that.
Yeah. They must have ticked someone off.
So
I've never
most of the tests take less than 10 minutes on the test sheet.
Yeah.
But if it works, it works. Got no problem with it. But, what you end up getting is you get use the word again, disparity between what you would think and then what the RTA's inspectors think. And also the RTA change their standards quite often because they're ever evolving.
Every time I go in for an inspection, there's either something's been tweaked, they've dropped something, they've added something.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, good to know.
Yeah, and they'll have their, and it's a good thing they do it, but they'll have their moments where they'll say, right, we're really getting slack on this now. We need to focus on it. Yeah. So then everyone fails because they haven't got the right fire extinguisher in the car.
Yeah.
Or everyone will fail because they don't have a warning triangle in the car.
Yep.
Everyone's failing because their boot's a mess.
Warning, I got a great story yesterday. We talked about this. I mean, this is an ongoing discussion, and anyone who's listening here is at some point in the next week going to be in a vehicle, and somebody statistically is going to get a flat tire. I mean, it's one person who's listening to this. I'm passing by a car yesterday with a flat tire. 3 cars pulled over to help them. Really nice. Somebody has even taken the liberty of getting out a lawn chair.
Nice.
So that the person whose car has the flat can watch the people changing it, but the flat tire is on the side of the car where the traffic is passing.
Oh,
I know. And I'm looking at it because I'm trying to, I'm coming up, it's a big, long straightaway, so I'm coming up at it from a distance, and I see this pull over, and I see that, and I'm going, what is going on here? So I'm like slowed right down because I'm now getting nervous because I see people walking, but it was a lawn chair that caught my attention, and I'm looking at the placement. There's even a bottle of water beside it, and I know they're trying to be nice. But I'm going, this is the danger zone.
There's danger, yeah.
And this particular piece of road, you always get people who are on their phones. It's 2 lanes, both going in the same direction. People are swerving. There was even a car accident there a year ago. And this flat happened almost where this car accident was, because you can still see the tire skid on the retaining wall. And I'm going, nice idea, but crazy. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I don't. We mentioned it last week, even with overheating. Just, it is not worth even trying. There's nothing you can do at the side of the road. Forget what anyone says. Forget what it says on any kind of YouTube video. Do not try and do any repairs on your vehicle at the side of the road. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing. Not safely.
No.
And you risk either being injured, making things worse, or both.
Yeah. And you're going to get dirty. You're going to get covered in oil.
Also, you're going to get ditched. Yeah, it's not worth it.
And then you're going to get back in your vehicle, and then you're going to get oil and grease on the seat, and then you're going to have to take. It's exponentially increasing the costs and the frustration. As I talk with Colin Thomas, We Will Fix It Dubai, the misery meter. At what point do you call in the people who are actually going to be able to do the work?
Yeah.
And at what point are you willing to take the misery of imperfection? So
yeah. What you need to do is you need to call the garage that you normally use, send them a location, send them a photo of the car, get away from it as soon as possible, and let them pick it up.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you know they're there to pick it up, you can wave goodbye from your safe point and either go, if you can't go with the driver that's picked the car up, which most of the time our drivers will take you where you're going, but if you can't go with them, get yourself a Careem or an Uber or Lyft or XX Ride or whatever app you're using at the minute and just go home. Or to work, or wherever you were going. Just go about your business, and it'll get fixed for you at the garage, because it's just not a safe thing. Changing a wheel is not safe. You
get the other problem, and you get the cowboys at the garage, wherever you're getting your tire work done, who've got the impact wrench.
Oh yeah,
and they have put it on this thing could be.
You've had that problem, haven't you?
I have. This thing could be used on an A380 that's landing at DXB. They're tightening up these lugs so bad. I had the problem that I broke the lug.
That's right.
Trying to get it out. So I had one that I broke the lug. I had one where whoever put it in realized they made a mistake and they'd cross-threaded it somehow. But they just they just put the impact wrench onto infinity and until it was in. And then I go to take it out, and it was like a mess. There were two of them.
Yeah.
I broke 2 lugs, 3 were still in place, and that's when at that moment, and I remember us talking about that. At that moment, I'm going, okay, I've got 2 lugs out, but I've got 3 in. I could still drive this to the garage. and actually, for a fraction of a second, I did think, if I drive slow, I can do this. And then I went, no. As much as I could probably do it, and someone could do it, no. I called the recovery vehicle because I said,
it's not worth the risk, is it?
Yeah.
And it's not always you that's at risk.
Yeah, exactly. I have, years ago, this is probably 2002, we're on the Allain Road, going to Allain, and we're about a quarter of the way, and it's really built up along that road now at this point. But there's a really nice kind of gully, and there's an over ramp and an off ramp there, and it's grassy. And I remember it like it's today, that we're going down this little hill, and somebody's tire passes us on the rim, and it was just shocking because I'm going, what's going on here? It's going faster than we are. We're doing at least 100 kilometers an hour, and this wheel has fallen off the vehicle. I couldn't see the vehicle, so I don't even know where it was. I mean, obviously, it must have been further back and they'd pulled over. But I'm thinking, well, that could happen if you've only got three lug nuts in it. Yeah. And who knows what the condition they're in. Oh, man. So, that's the other side, is just even sometimes changing the tire, you can't get them off. You don't, you need a piece of pipe to put onto your wrench that comes with the vehicle so you can get more leverage. But
you could very easily put yourself in a situation where it then becomes more difficult to recover it as well.
Yeah.
And it's just not worth it.
Well, imagine, there's another side to this. Imagine you're trying to get it going. You're on an uneven surface. You've got your jack in place, and you're shaking the vehicle so much that you shake the jack loose.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say. Is the spare wheel jacks are okay, but they're kind of okay in best case scenario.
Yeah,
they're not okay when you're swinging on the bar and the scaffolding pole that you've nicked off the building site next to you where you broke down that's trying to open the wheel nuts or the wheel bolts. It's just not a good idea. Yeah. I wouldn't get involved at the side of the road.
No. And I think, if you're going and getting your tire work done and you hang out and you're looking, and if they're not using a torque wrench to get a sense of how tight they actually are tightening those things, I think you got to walk away from that place. I mean, finish the job, but then go to somewhere where they can torque it to the correct tension, because over tightening is not good either.
No.
But people do it. They just don't care.
Yeah.
Oh no, the impact wrench has got a torque. It's built-in torque
no, it hasn't.
release. That's what they're going to tell you.
No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. No, I don't know that there's ever a good time, unless you have got a Formula One pit crew, that you need to just use pneumatic tools to put your wheels on.
Yeah. People love doing it. I think they just love the sound.
I don't even know that it saves you that much time. It doesn't really save you that much time. And you put them on the lowest setting on the gun, so you know it's going to be fine. Put them all on, waz them on, and then just get the car down and use the torque wrench. But we'll go out there. Me and DJ will go walk around the shop, and we'll say to the guys, we'll see them like pushing the car out or just driving it out after servicing it, and we'll just say, what was the torque setting for the wheels? Yeah. And if they can't give us an answer straight away, back in, look it up, torque them up. And a lot of them you get to remember. There's not a massive range. Yeah. So you get to remember what they are, but otherwise look it up, torque them up. And we just do it from time to time because we've been there.
Yeah.
We've been the ones to have the problem of removing it.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
No.
It's just not good.
Because when you get a flat tire and if you are changing it, it's never at a good time.
No. And then particularly in the case of locking wheel bolts, the ones with locking wheel bolts, the sort of most modern ones where they have the really shallow design. I get why they do it. But when they've been over-tightened, the key won't take the loosening. So then the key breaks. You've got to then either weld something to that to get it out, which then 9 times out of 10 damages the wheel rim.
Oh, nice.
Which, if it's got locking wheel bolts on, is a fancy wheel rim.
Yeah.
or you completely waste 3 hours trying to find the right key from somebody to borrow you, to lend you, and then you borrow it off them, and then it breaks, and then, oh no, now I owe them a key, and nightmare.
Yeah.
So it's just, we don't like having to deal with the problems of it, and we wouldn't certainly want to be the ones causing it. So always use a torque wrench to torque them back up. And that's the thing, when you've put your temporary spare wheel on, or your full-size spare wheel, whatever it may be, you've got yourself going.
Skoda, full-size spare wheel.
Definitely.
That's a big check mark for me.
Well, when you've got going and you're up and away again, you need to then go and make sure they're tight enough. You need to go and get them checked. Yeah.
What's one of the things we haven't talked about recently is what's going on in the shop. What have you got in the shop that's grabbing your attention these days? We are literally, by the way, Gleb Power joining me. We are at PowerWorks Garage. That's where we do this podcast from. And Glenn's looking out. He's looking out.
Come think about it. AC season started early. We've got a club spot behind you that's having an AC compressor. There's a Ford Edge over there for an evaporator. We had another GTI in for a compressor this week. So that started quite early, thinking about it now, like that. And
so big issue is sometimes people aren't running their AC all year round, but you do periodically need to turn it on to keep the seals and things lubricated, and they do go. So this is a great time of the year, as it's just starting. Here it's starting to get warm. Other parts of the world, you're heading into spring, summer's coming. Do the AC inspections now so that you're not caught out when you're going to need it on the highway somewhere.
Yeah, I mean the VW stuff, they're on a swash plate, so they're technically never off even when you turn them off. But
nice.
They're down to like sort of 3 to 5% efficiency. It's not like they're doing anything.
But it's still circulating the oil. So
yeah, you're still getting the oil around the system and everything else. So, AC is what AC is. The most interesting thing, though, regardless of all that this week, has probably been the 8-seater bike that we've been building for the school.
What's going on with that? That's cool.
Well, the school, so Arbor School, which is out in Jebel Ali, they're very much a sort of sustainable school. They use recycled uniforms, and they've got huge biodomes, they call them, a bit like the Eden Project, mini version of that in the school grounds, and they grow a lot of their own produce that they sell for the cafe, and they give the kids for the lunches and stuff, so that's good. But they're now out of not only their sort of conscience on the doing the right thing, but also out of necessity. The grounds were surrounded by lots of sand, wasteland sand, where people could park, and it was a few hundred meters to the school gate, and that has all been taken up now. A lot of it's been landscaped.
Okay,
great, no problem. And then some of it's going to be built on. Obviously, it's an up-and-coming area. So then all of a sudden, you've got a school that goes right the way from FS1 or kindergarten, whatever you'd call it, all the way through to probably year 11 by next year. And then eventually it's going to go all the way through to 18. So there's thousands of people in the morning trying to get in a car park with 130 spaces. So there's a 2-lane road outside the school, and one of them's completely blocked. Now, they manage it really well. The traffic sort of patrol, whatever you want to call them, that the school have, which is the security guards and a few of the teachers volunteer. They get it flowing relatively well. We don't park in the car park because I just can't be doing with the weight. I park down the road and walk, and it's fine. Uncomfortable in May and June, but you manage.
Yeah.
But what the idea is now is that straight on, literally in a straight line for about 1 kilometre, there's a mosque. And that mosque has a car park, which they've said parents can use. So the idea is drive up to the mosque, park your car, and then there'll be a couple of teachers on this bike, put 5 or 6 kids on it, pedal them down the hill to the school. Then it'll come back empty, 5 or 6 more. Now, unfortunately, but most people, it's one kid getting dropped off in one car.
Yeah.
If not one, it's only 2. But if you take 5 or 6 on a trip, you can 3 to 5 cars reduce from the queue. And if you do that 4 or 5 times, all of a sudden you've lost 20, 25 cars. So that's the idea of it. And, the plan is that anyone living in the local area, which we will be soon, can sort of join in on the train and get a bit of a convoy going of kids on bikes and scooters when they're supervised by the teachers and the assistants that are going to run it. So, if it works, it works. So we put it together and it's all there and accounted for and it's tight and everything works. So we just sent it now to the body shop and it's getting painted in the school colours.
Okay.
And then they'll have it from Monday onwards. I don't think they're going to be able to use it after spring break because it's going to be too hot.
Yeah.
But, they'll get a week or, the end of next week out of it before spring break, and then it'll be make all the plans firm and fixed and a few dry runs ready for the start again after the summer holiday.
Yeah, nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That keeps you busy.
Yeah. Yeah, you do wonder how you get involved in these things sometimes. You're like, what am I doing? My phone rings and you miss a call or you ring somebody back and like, I'm sorry, I was busy building a bike. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. I don't really know why I was doing that, but yeah, me and DJ put it together. It was all right. Like I say, it was from Dragon Mart.
Okay.
And saw it there. Obviously, the one in the shop is fully built up. I had a ride round. Only crashed it twice.
There you go.
So then the school went and bought one. Met the head teacher there. He was happy with it. So he arranged someone to buy one. They dropped it off on Sunday. And then Monday we started putting it together. And yeah, it's good.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, good.
I was looking at a list of things that, because sometimes I think we just get lazy and, people are bringing their vehicles in for, this, that, and the other thing. Oh, I'm going to bring my vehicle in. Can you change the windshield wiper blades? I was like, come on. Hey, but I'm sure this happens all the time.
Some of those are Krypton factor, I tell you. Yeah. Some of those are real difficult, those wiper blades. Especially when you get the generic ones and you have to figure out what clip you need.
Well, look, mine are the easiest windshield wiper blades to install on the planet. But even when I take them off, it's just a hook and you've got to. But even it's not totally intuitive.
No.
So you do get it.
Yeah. Some of them are terrible. Some of them are really bad. Like to the point where we've had. So we sell Borg and Beck wiper blades, and they'll come.
Do they make them for the Wrangler?
Probably. There'll just be some that fit, and then we have like a universal kit of clips to fit
Borg
in
and
there.
Beck make nice wipers.
Yeah, we've got all sorts in there, but sometimes getting the right clip and understanding which clip you need, because it doesn't look exactly like the one on the car.
Right.
Is it going to fit? And the arm is. So yeah, and then there's always the time where the customer comes in. And they've fitted them wrong at some point, and then the arm's been sort of repaired and bashed together, and then it doesn't really fit a new one at all.
Yeah.
So that happens from time to time.
Yeah. And these are things that, on the surface, anyone should be able to fix that.
We had a car come in once where they wanted the wipers changing. Okay, just change my wipers for me, no problem. So lift the arm up to take the blade off, and the whole arm comes off the windscreen, off the spindle. And what had happened is, obviously, the person whose vehicle it was had thought, well, I can change that. It's easy. There's a nut there, 13 mil. I'm going to do that. And they'd undone it, and then they'd been trying to get it off, and it wouldn't come off because the spindles get really tight and they corrode a little bit. But obviously, in the time of leaving it and whatever, and then we've gone and pulled the arm up, the whole arm's come off. They'd not even put the nut back on. So that's stuck on. I better get the garage to do it.
Oh man!
So people don't always know. There's not always a way to know.
And it all goes back to some things that in the past we would just do. Change your air filter. Even that can be pretty hard by the time you unclip things. And I mean, if you ever take your car to get washed and you watch the guys do that, sometimes they struggle getting them in, and that's not easy anymore.
No. A friend of mine came in, brought me that TV bracket there. Actually, he came in on Monday or Tuesday. What day is it?
Thursday.
It's Tuesday then. Okay. He came in with his Jeep Grand Cherokee for a headlight bulb. Okay, so headlight bulb. Everyone's changed headlight bulbs on the driveway. Everyone does it themselves, right?
No.
So
no longer. I'm sorry.
Bumper off. Then there's a sign on the back of the headlight that says super high voltage, this will kill you, do not touch. And then there's the bulb, which is 300 dirhams.
Yeah. No, you got to take the bumper off. You got to take the front grille off
and not get electrocuted.
I remember,
yours even have to have the grill off, don't they?
Yeah. I remember maybe 2008 year model, 2012. One of the headlights went, and I thought I can change this because I remember my old Volkswagen Rabbit.
Yeah,
it was
very easy. Yeah,
it was 3 screws. Unscrew, pull it off.
Yeah.
unclip, put it back in. And so I'm looking at the Wrangler and I'm thinking same, till I go and get the light, and I'm buying the light, and the guy's okay, well, you're gonna have to do this, and are you okay with the grill? And I'm going, what? And I'm going, no, I'm absolutely not okay with it.
I'm not barbecuing. I'm just changing the bulb.
And and so he obviously the guy comes out, and I go and take a look at the grill. Well, it's not a standard screwdriver. So I'm going, oh man, I don't have that. And then I'm looking at a little bit closer, and I'm looking at the plastic clips.
Yeah.
And I'm going, what's the chance of breaking one of those? High.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at him. So you got the screwdriver, and do you have replacement clips? Yes and yes. How long is it going to take? About half an hour. And I'm going, let's do both light bulbs as well then. But it's no longer a driveway job for most people.
No, that's the problem with it. And like I say, you bumper off a warning sticker telling you that you're going to get electrocuted, and then the bulb is 300 dirhams because it's a gas discharge.
Yeah.
It's never nice. We always giving people. We are constantly giving people bad news.
That's got to be
all the time. But that's one of the worst. Counseling. That's one of the worst.
You got an on-call counselor?
Yeah.
Because that's got to be the worst thing. You calling someone up and they think it's only a little thing. You call them up and it's going to be 3,000 dirhams worth of repairs. And sorry to have to tell you this.
Yeah, that's one of the worst. The absolute worst is your bulb's 300 dirhams, and they think, what? You're taking the mick.
Yeah.
But what can I do? It's not a halogen bulb anymore. It isn't. And it's they're becoming more and more rare. Those things, people are wanting and standards, particularly in Europe, North America, lighting standards are crazy. I was going to send. Did I send you the video from the UK House of Lords debate that time?
No.
So I don't know how I ended up down this rabbit hole, but I think it was something to do with. That's right. So there was a member of the House of Lords in the UK. So if you don't know what that means, I don't want to waste your time explaining it to anybody that's listening. But basically, it's one of the parts of government
that makes laws
that kind of, they have a few chances to stop the main house that are voted in, but these people aren't voted in. They're peers, basically. Yeah. So anyway, they're having a debate about lights on cars and how they're too bright nowadays.
Yeah.
And I, for 5 or 6 seconds, I'm sat there thinking, this is about time. And then realised these people having this conversation, some of them are in the 70s. And I'm agreeing with some old people about this, and I'm like in my 30s, what's going on? But it's about time.
Yeah.
If you take the Matrix headlights on the Audis, the VW stuff, they're amazing. Some of the Mercedes are the same. And if you go onto YouTube and just search Matrix headlights operation, you get a video of them driving at night, and it always works better on misty nights because you can see the beam. These lights, using the sensors on the car and the cameras on the car, they will detect oncoming traffic and pedestrians, and they will light the area around them or not directly on them. So pedestrians, traffic, bikes, animals even don't get dazzled by the lights. And you can see the beam constantly shifting around a car. So there's a car coming the other way and you see the beam shift so that car has never got your light directly pointed at it.
That's nice.
Now you'll see the lights on the car if you're the other car coming the other way, but it's not pointing at you.
Yeah.
And it's always been something that I've known about, because I remember, the weekends we go to my grandparents' house, and by the time the winter rolled around and it's going dark at 4:35 in the UK, you got my granddad saying, I need to get you home quick because I can't see at night because the lights dazzle me.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is like the 90s, so obviously there's none of this tech on lights. It was either on or off.
Yeah. And then you got some Yahoo who's got the high beams on.
But now, even the daytime running lights that are like lasers.
Oh, yeah.
That you can't turn them off.
No.
And they're so bright.
They annoy me, some of these daytime driving lights, because when people signal, then you've only got half the light work. And I get why they do it, and it's kind of cool, but I also find it, for whatever reason, it annoys me.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
And I don't know what it is.
The Volkswagen stuff, they dim. Some of them go completely off. The Jeeps dim.
I just want a standard signal light.
Yeah.
And that if you've listened to this show and then listened to our radio program years gone by, and of course folks right now on Talk 100.3 are listening, but I've always standardized some of these lighting systems on cars and just stick with them.
It'll never ever happen.
No.
My biggest problem with daytime running lights, there's a couple. As a technician, it's a problem.
I do like daytime running lights. Just not too bright.
Your fault, anyway. As a Canadian,
Canadians, we brought it in.
But as my biggest gripe with them as a technician is that they make the lights hot.
Yeah.
So you're working on the car with the ignition on because you're doing testing and the light's getting hot and you're leaning over it and you put something on it and it melts it. That's a genuine issue on some of the bulb daytime running lights. But more than that is that a lot of them are only front.
Right. Yeah,
they're not rear.
No, you don't.
And they're so bright now. How many cars I see on the way home at night in the dark with no lights on because they're front and the front of the car is illuminated.
Yeah.
The lights are great on the roads here, unless you like looking at stars, in which case they're a menace. But the lighting on the road is great anyway. And then you've got daytime running lights, which are bright white LED lights. So they're lighting the road up. So you don't know your lights aren't on.
Right.
But there's no rear lights on. You can't see that car approaching it.
Yeah.
And
I get you.
that is a problem for me.
Yeah.
But also, if you've got a vehicle that's got automatic lights, just leave it on auto, please.
Exactly.
What are you doing? Why have you turned that off? Leave it on auto. In fact, I tell you, if you've got a car that's got automatic lights on, you can even leave your interior light on. It'll turn itself off when you lock your car. Like, don't worry about it. Just leave it on auto, and then the lights will take care of themselves.
Yeah. But so many people turn it off.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, this has been a lot of fun, Glenn. As always, Glenn Power, PowerWorks Garage. That is where we are recording this at this moment. You want to get in touch with us, podaholics@gmail.com. If you're at Talk 100.3, fire through on their WhatsApp or email us. Hey, we'll get your questions, queries, comments, observations on the show. And wherever you're listening to us, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Share the links, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Glenn, see you again.
Thank you.